So I'm Jeff Case. I was at BYU through the 90s. I graduated with my bachelor's in 99, and then I came back and completed doctoral work in 2006. So I went to BYU initially because that's what you do. But also I went to BYU because we were stationed overseas. My dad was Air Force. We were in Italy, and I didn't have an easy state school to go to. So I had to go to a private school that was affordable, enter BYU. So in 1992, tuition was $1,100. So it was a cheap place to go, and coming from a very unwealthy family, that was about the only option, really. But like I said, when I got there, I felt like I found my tribe. And I found my tribe in a number of different places, and I'm very happy I went there. My experience at BYU initially was really great. I grew up kind of in a military family all over the world, and so I'd never really been around a concentrated group of LDS people before. So I felt like accepted in that regard, that I wasn't an outsider in that way. I was studying music, and I think the musicians and music majors, we had a really great camaraderie. So I had a lot of great friends, and people kind of believed in that same way. And I was deathly afraid that it would all come crashing around this house of cards if anyone found out that I was gay. So it was like this mixture of like joy and honest, I think honest joy. It wasn't artificial, with fear. It was interesting kind of watching people at BYU. Obviously, this is a place where they come together, they date, they get married. There was an excitement about that. But if you're queer or gay or anywhere on that spectrum, it was a fear-based thing, not a joyful-based thing. So it was that mixture of fear and joy kind of all at the same time. I'd gone to the counseling center to get some therapy for, you know, the gay, right? There wasn't instruction. Like, this was in the 90s. There were some pamphlets and some guidance, and nothing was really talked about explicitly except for gay was bad. But there was no real solution, no options. Just don't do it, please. A therapist that I went and saw at the counseling center encouraged me to go check out some books from the library, and I was so afraid. So I went to the library and I found these 3 books that dealt with homosexuality that I would not recommend today to any person. But I grabbed these 3 books, and then I grabbed like 9 more books off the shelf related to human sexuality. So in case anybody saw what I was doing with a stack of books, I could say, oh, I'm writing a paper on human sexuality, and 3 of the books of the 12, right? And then I check them all out, walk out of the library, toss all of them in the return bin except for the 3 that I really needed. So that's the level of fear, because why does a circulation desk care what I'm checking out? But there was still fear in even checking out books. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, my time there was mixed with some pleasantness, some difficulty. I think one of my favorite memories, though, was participating in the music program and being able to kind of express that side and really allow myself to be free artistically. I didn't have to pretend to not like ballet or not like opera, because when you're surrounded by other artists, and so I felt very free in that sense. It was okay to cry at the symphony. You know, it was like, well, first of all, it was okay to go to the symphony. So for me, that was very freeing, and it allowed me to kind of really express myself emotionally in sort of a safe way, right? So I think that was a great thing, and I loved having roommates. I loved being connected with people, and growing up, I was the kid that was bullied. I was beat up. I was had some pretty horrific experiences as a kid. So to kind of have that behind me and feel accepted and loved, and kind of be able to express myself artistically through music was really, really meaningful for me, at least. The difficulty kind of came in with having to hide and feeling like they all like me. I think they really like me, but they don't know me. It's still just this facade. I've created a person that fits within the Mormon culture and the hyper Mormon culture at BYU at that. I think I was a closeted Democrat at the same time as well. But to fit in with that, I had this facade that if anyone permeated that, it would crumble. And many times I wanted to bring people in, and fear stopped me. And I recall with one friend in particular, I talked with her about being gay 20 years after graduation. And her comment was, "Isn't it nice to be able to finally talk about this?" And I think that was nice, but it was so hard to kind of keep that hidden and afraid. No bishops knew, because if the bishop knew, the honor code office would find out that we've let a queer on campus, and we would have to kick him out. So I never talked to ecclesiastical leaders, and certainly not any friends, because then everything would just fall around. And it's hard to live. It's suffocating, and you learn a lot of self-hate messages because you're reinforced for your facade, meaning that you're avoiding the thing that you fear, thus reinforcing the fear and thus reinforcing the self-hatred, the internalized homophobia. My mental health, luckily I've been very blessed to not have a lot of significant mental health problems. I didn't go into therapy until I finally came out to somebody, and they recommended this therapist at BYU. He was also, came out to another gay kid that was in the music program with me. And he said that he had gone to a therapist and had really enjoyed the conversations. So I don't think I had anything diagnosable. It was just a place where I could kind of process the sexuality piece. And the therapist, to his credit, was fantastic. And he never put any pressure on me to choose a path, a lifestyle. He just allowed me space to finally just let my facade down and feel accepted and feel loved for the first time with everything out there. I think one of the benefits of not coming out to a bishop and not coming out to my parents until I was much later, I never had to go through conversion therapy. I didn't have to go through the aversion therapy, and I didn't have to go through any of that really shitty stuff that they put these kids through, and put like my generation and the earlier generation in particular. I'm still surprised at how recently this stuff was being practiced. So I think on that side, I'm grateful for not having come out to a leader who could put me in a really damaging program. The process was very gradual. I initially kind of came out to myself right before my mission. So I had finished my first year at BYU, and I decided to serve a mission, and I was just kind of biding my time that summer, doing some road trips, and I met a gay kid on a Greyhound bus traveling across West Texas randomly, and he was the first person to ask me if I was gay. And in that moment, I thought, oh my gosh, that's what all this means, right? So again, this was in 1993, so there wasn't much of a national narrative, there wasn't a national or there was a presence, but it was very isolated to the coasts, right? Not to, where I was at. So I didn't ask myself that question, but I knew for sure I was attracted to guys. I just didn't know what that meant until I was asked if I was gay. So that was my first time coming out to myself using that language. Coming out to other people was very gradual. Started with my wife. I did get married while I was at BYU. I was 23, and I thought getting married would get rid of the gay. Weird. And I wasn't discouraged from that, but of course no one knew. I was making all this stuff up on my own. So after being married for 6 months and, again, opening the box in my brain labeled Jeff sexuality, right when you get married, it just came flooding out and everything became worse. So I told my wife at 6 months what was going on, and we just decided to kind of give it some time and see where it went. We were best friends, and so we honestly had a really great relationship. And we're still married. It's been 23 years. So she was kind of the first person I came out to kind of explore that. And then over time to parents, but it took a lot of years. I came out publicly in 2014 with a video project, and kind of coincided with me separating from the Army as well. So I served in the Army during the Don't Ask, Don't Tell years. And so I kept that kind of, again, to myself. So getting out of the Army allowed me the space to kind of speak publicly for the first time. So I served a mission, 93 to 95, in the Fort Lauderdale, Florida mission, and my first area was South Beach, which in 1993 was a bit of a gay mecca. So it was interesting. I spent 3 months on South Beach to start my mission, and again, this is right after I came out to myself. So it was a lot of imagery, a lot of people, beautiful people riding around on rollerblades, wearing only Speedos, as one did in the 90s. So it was kind of in my face with that. But a lot of my mission was really good because I felt the camaraderie that I was lacking with other guys. And that, for me, was very beneficial. And I really had a great time with my mission, apart from that early bit that was... I think it was kind of God's way of saying, are you sure you want to be here? Because this is the alternative. So I think it kind of formalized my commitment to staying, because there were plenty of reasons to leave. In fact, we, as Knocking Doors, found a lot of returned missionaries who had gone back to South Beach to be with their partners. So it gave me time to really reflect on what I wanted to do with my life. I think God has a really funny sense of humor. Let's put Jeff on South Beach right after he comes out. So today I'm still active practicing LDS. I am one of these guys that faith came easy to me, the church came easy to me, The doctrines came easy to me. The culture of the LDS Church can drive me a bit bonkers. So it's funny that after being in the Army, we chose to come back and live in Utah County. Well, we didn't choose. I think there was some divine direction. But I have a deep spiritual connection with God. And what I encourage people to do is really stay connected with God, or that sense of spirituality, whatever that looks like, whatever it is that fills themselves with love, because that's the most important part. For me, I know where I'm at, and I know that I'm planted inside of a culture that can be very toxic for my LGBTQ brothers and sisters, and I recognize that. And I work hard to change the culture kind of from within when I can, and I encourage those who are, a friend recently said, I think I'm in an abusive relationship with the church, and I'm like, well, then you need to get out. If this is abusive for you, then go find love. Please go find where you can be healthy. So this is my path, and I recognize that it is mine, and it is because I have stayed connected spiritually to my spiritual higher power that keeps me in this path. But I don't push this on anyone. I want people to be able to, again, freely find the thing that's going to work for them. And I'm really grateful for the chance that I was, in some measure, given the right to do the same. Oh, that's so hard. What I would tell students on campus still is to find whatever source of love they can, and real deep love. And it's got to start with yourself. Get yourself in a healthy position. And so overcome the internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia, whatever you're experiencing, overcome that fear and hatred of yourself, because that is not going to be healthy for you. And I don't think that's from God either, right? Find the source of health that you can get, that you can kind of tap into. And from a healthier place, make healthy determinations for yourself. Don't live automatically, but be deliberate in your actions. So for me, it was very automatic. You turn 12, you become a deacon. You turn 14, you turn 18, you go on a mission, and you go to BYU. It was automatic, and it was thoughtless. And I would encourage people to become very thoughtful and deliberate, and get out of these automatic narratives that I think people that are in the LDS Church and at BYU a lot of times are kind of boxed into.